My son was buried on a Tuesday. By Wednesday morning, I had already lost everything he left behind. Or so I thought. Because at 7:43 a.m., less than 14 hours after we lowered him into the ground, my phone rang. An unknown number. A woman's voice, calm and professional. "Ma'am, my name is Carol. I work at Denver International Airport. I'm calling because we have a bag here in our lost property office, and there's a note attached to it with your name and number on it." I couldn't breathe. The note says, "Call my mother first. Tell no one else." Those were my son's words. And suddenly I understood. Danny hadn't just left me a bag. He had left me a lifeline.
Let me take you back. Because to understand what happened at that airport, you need to understand who Danny was. And you need to understand who he married. Danny was my oldest son. 34 years old. Bright, funny, the kind of man who remembered everyone's birthday and cried at dog food commercials. He was also the most trusting person I have ever known in my life. Which, as it turns out, was both his greatest gift and his greatest weakness. He met Tiffany 8 years ago at a work conference in Phoenix. She was sharp, beautiful, and charming in that specific way that makes you feel like you're the most important person in the room. I wanted to like her. I really did. But from the very first Thanksgiving dinner, something felt off. Tiffany had this way of talking over people. Not loudly. Quietly. She'd steer conversations away from Danny's accomplishments and toward her own. She'd make little jokes at his expense and then smile sweetly when he looked hurt. "Oh, you know how I am, babe. I'm just teasing." Danny always laughed it off. I didn't laugh. And her mother, Linda? Linda was Tiffany multiplied by 10, and with zero filter. The first time Linda came to my home for Christmas, she walked through my front door, looked around my living room, and said, and I am not exaggerating, "Oh, it's cozy." The way she said cozy made it very clear she meant something else entirely. Danny and Tiffany had been married for 6 years when he got sick. Stage 3 pancreatic cancer. 47 days from diagnosis to funeral. 47 days. I moved into their guest room the moment I found out. I wasn't going to let my son spend his final weeks without his mother nearby. Tiffany smiled when I arrived. But her eyes told a completely different story. The first few weeks, things were tense but manageable. I cooked. I cleaned. I drove Danny to treatments when Tiffany was too tired or had a work thing. I held his hand through 4 rounds of chemotherapy. I sat next to his bed at 3 a.m. when the pain was bad and he couldn't sleep. Tiffany, to her credit, was present sometimes. But there was always something pulling her away. A phone call she had to take in another room. A meeting she couldn't reschedule. And Linda. Linda started showing up. Every other day, Linda was at that house. Bringing casseroles Danny couldn't eat. Sitting in the living room with Tiffany, whispering. One afternoon I walked in from the pharmacy and they both went silent. The kind of silence that has a shape to it. I noticed other things too. Danny's laptop, which he usually left open on the kitchen table, started disappearing into the bedroom whenever I was around. His phone, which he used to leave charging in the hallway, was suddenly always with him. And one night, about 3 weeks before the end, I heard Tiffany on the phone in the kitchen. She didn't know I was still awake. "It's all handled, Mom." "Yes." "No, she won't be able to do anything about it. I've already talked to the attorney." I stood in that hallway with my heart pounding. I didn't say anything. But I didn't forget either. Danny passed on a Sunday evening. Peaceful, at home, with me holding one hand and Tiffany holding the other. Whatever else I may think of Tiffany, she was there at the end. And I will always give her that. But what happened in the 48 hours after Danny died? That I will never forgive. The funeral was Monday. By Tuesday afternoon, before the flowers on his grave had even wilted, Tiffany pulled me aside in the kitchen. Her voice was soft. Practiced. "Lisa, I want you to know how much Danny loved you. And I know this is hard. But I've been speaking with the estate attorney, and I think it's best if we get things settled quickly. For everyone's sake." I looked at her. "What does settled mean, Tiffany?" She set a manila envelope on the kitchen table. "Danny updated his will about 2 months ago. Everything goes to me. The house. The accounts. His investment portfolio." She slid the envelope toward me. "He also specifically excluded any claim from extended family. That's just how he wanted it." I opened the envelope with shaking hands. I am not a lawyer. But I've been around long enough to read a document. And what I read made my blood run cold. The will was dated 6 weeks ago. 6 weeks ago, my son was already deep into chemo. He was exhausted and on heavy medication. He could barely hold a pen some days. And somehow, in that condition, he had signed a new will that cut me out completely? The Danny I knew had promised me, verbally, more than once, that the lake house his father and I had helped him purchase would come back to the family if something happened to him. We had contributed $40,000 to that down payment. $40,000. Now I was being handed a piece of paper telling me it all belonged to Tiffany. I set the document down. I looked Tiffany in the eye. And I said, very calmly, "I'd like some time to review this." She nodded, already looking relieved. She thought it was over. I drove home that night feeling completely hollow. I didn't sleep. At 7:43 the next morning, my phone rang. Carol from Denver International Airport. I almost didn't answer. I didn't recognize the number and I was in no condition to deal with anything. But something made me pick up. Ms. Lisa Harmon? Yes? My name is Carol, I work in lost property at Denver International. I'm calling because we have an unclaimed bag here that was checked in approximately 3 weeks ago. There's a handwritten note attached to the outside with your name and phone number. The note says, "Call my mother first. Tell no one else." My legs gave out. I sat down on the kitchen floor. "Can you?" My voice broke. "Can you read me the name on the bag tag?" I heard her typing. Daniel Harmon. I drove to Denver that same morning. 3.5 hours. I don't remember most of the drive. Carol met me at the lost property desk, a kind woman in her 50s with reading glasses on a beaded chain. She looked at me with the specific gentleness of someone who has already figured out that this situation is not ordinary. She checked my ID. She had me sign 2 forms. And then she brought out the bag. It was Danny's old hiking duffel. Navy blue with a yellow zipper. I'd given it to him for his 30th birthday. I had to sit down again. There was a handwritten note duct taped to the outside in Danny's handwriting, shakier than usual, but unmistakably his. "Mom. If you're reading this, then I'm gone and things have probably already gotten complicated. Don't open this here. Go somewhere private. I love you more than you know. D." Carol quietly handed me a bottle of water and pointed me toward a private room near the back of the office. She closed the door behind me. I unzipped the bag. Inside, wrapped carefully in one of Danny's flannel shirts, the green one I always teased him about, were the following things. A sealed letter addressed to me. A second sealed letter addressed to whom it may concern, legal matters. A USB drive. A manila folder containing what appeared to be financial documents. And a small velvet box containing my mother's pearl earrings I had given Danny to pass on to a future daughter someday. He had kept them safe. I opened his letter to me first. I'm going to share parts of that letter with you. Because it explains everything. Danny wrote, "Mom. I know you, and I know you're holding yourself together right now even though you want to fall apart. Please fall apart a little. You're allowed. There are things I need to tell you that I couldn't say out loud. Not with Tiffany in the house. Not with Linda showing up every 5 minutes. About 6 weeks ago, Tiffany asked me to sign a new will. She said it was just updating things. Simplifying. I was exhausted and I trusted her, and I signed it. Mom, I signed it without reading it carefully. That's on me. But 2 days later, my buddy Marcus, you remember Marcus, my college roommate, the one who became a lawyer, Marcus came to visit me. And I told him what I'd signed. He went very quiet. Then he asked me some questions. And then he told me what that document actually said. It didn't just update things. It removed you completely. It removed the clause about the lake house returning to the family. And it had a specific line, Mom, a specific line, preventing you from contesting anything. I confronted Tiffany that night. She cried. She said she was just trying to protect our future. I didn't even know what that meant. We don't have a future. I'm dying. I want you to know that I am not leaving you with nothing. Not a chance. In this bag, you will find a USB drive. On that drive is a folder called Mom, Open First. Inside that folder is a recorded video. I made it with Marcus as a witness, in which I am of sound mind and I am clearly stating my actual wishes. Marcus also helped me prepare a handwritten amendment to the original will, signed by both of us and witnessed by 2 additional people whose contact information is in the manila folder. The lake house is yours, Mom. It was always going to be yours. Marcus says the amendment is valid and the video recording significantly strengthens the case if anyone tries to challenge it. There is also a document in that folder showing a joint account that Tiffany does not know about. I set it up 8 months ago, just in case. There's enough in there to make sure you're okay for a while, and to cover any legal costs if this gets messy. I'm sorry I didn't protect you better from the beginning. I'm sorry I let things get this far. But Mom, you protected me my whole life. It was my turn. I love you forever. Don't let them win. Danny. I sat in that little airport room for a long time. Crying the way you can only cry when grief and gratitude hit you at exactly the same time. My son. My brilliant, thoughtful, dying son. Had spent some of his last weeks on this earth building me a safety net. While he was fighting for his life, he was also fighting for mine. I called Marcus from the airport parking lot. He picked up on the first ring. Like he'd been waiting. You went to the airport, he said. It wasn't a question. I went to the airport, I confirmed. Good. I've been waiting for your call, Lisa. I didn't reach out before because Danny specifically asked me not to. He said you'd need a day to breathe after the funeral. He knew you. Marcus had already been in contact with a probate attorney in our county. He walked me through everything over the next hour. The handwritten amendment to the will was valid under Colorado law. It met all the requirements, signed by Danny, witnessed by 2 independent parties, dated and notarized. The video recording, while not legally required, served as powerful supporting evidence of Danny's state of mind and his clear intentions. The joint account was legally mine to access. Danny had set it up specifically in both our names 18 months prior. And the lake house? The deed had never been changed. It was still titled jointly between Danny and me, something Tiffany had apparently never thought to check, or had assumed the new will would override. It didn't. It couldn't. A will doesn't override a deed. Tiffany's attorney contacted me 4 days after the funeral. A slick voicemail telling me that the estate was in the process of being settled and they wanted to ensure a smooth transition for all parties. I forwarded that voicemail directly to Marcus. Marcus forwarded it to our probate attorney. Our probate attorney then filed the amendment with the court and formally notified Tiffany's legal team of the contested will. The look on Tiffany's face when her attorney called her with that news? I didn't see it. But I heard about it from Danny's cousin Rachel, who heard about it from a mutual friend. Apparently Tiffany threw a coffee mug at the kitchen wall. I'm not proud of finding that satisfying. Actually, yes I am. 3 days later, Linda showed up at my house. Unannounced. She was dressed like she was going to court herself. Blazer, heels, pearls. Her expression was the expression of a woman who has spent decades winning arguments through sheer intimidation. She sat across from me at my kitchen table. She got right to it. Lisa, I think we both want the same thing. We want to honor Danny's memory and move forward with dignity. I'd like to talk to you about withdrawing the contest and allowing Tiffany to. Linda, I said. She stopped. Would you like some coffee? She blinked. What? Coffee. I just made a fresh pot. She stared at me like I'd switched languages. No. Lisa, I don't think you understand the position you're in. The will is being contested in probate court, I said pleasantly. My attorney is handling it. I've been advised not to discuss the specifics with anyone outside of that process. I stood up. Are you sure about the coffee? It's the good stuff. Danny always liked it. Linda left 5 minutes later. She didn't get any coffee. The probate process took 4 months. I won't pretend it was easy. There were weeks where I was running on pure stubbornness and the memory of Danny's handwriting on that note taped to a navy blue duffel bag. There were nights where I sat with that velvet box of pearl earrings in my hand and just talked to him. Thanked him. Apologized for not seeing what Tiffany was sooner. Told him about the birds at the feeder, because he always loved hearing about the birds. But at the end of 4 months, the court recognized the handwritten amendment as valid. The original will, the one Tiffany had maneuvered Danny into signing while he was on pain medication and terrified and exhausted, was ruled to not reflect Danny's clear and documented final wishes. Tiffany retained the financial accounts that were solely in Danny's name and a portion of the marital assets. The lake house came to me. The joint account, which had just over $62,000 in it, was released to me. And Danny's personal belongings, his books, his journals, his dad's old watch, the flannel shirts, I got all of it. What Tiffany didn't get? The moral high ground. The neighborhood knew. Mutual friends knew. Because when you try to cut a grieving mother out of her dying son's final wishes, people find out. People always find out. Linda, I heard, stopped coming to the neighborhood book club she'd been attending with one of Tiffany's friends. Too many uncomfortable silences. Apparently, the following spring, I opened the lake house for the first time since Danny passed. I drove up on a Friday. Marcus came, and Danny's cousin Rachel, and my younger son Paul, who flew in from Seattle. We sat on the porch that overlooked the water and we ate the terrible potato salad Paul always makes, and we told Danny stories until the sun went down. I told them about the airport call. About Carol with her beaded glasses. About the navy duffel. About sitting on the floor of that private room with a flannel shirt in my lap. Paul cried. Rachel laughed at the part about Linda and the coffee. Marcus raised his glass and said, Danny was the smartest person I ever met. He knew what he was doing. And he was right. Danny knew exactly what he was doing. He was 34 years old and he was dying, and he still found a way to protect the person who had spent her whole life protecting him. He couldn't stop what was coming for him. But he made absolutely sure that the people who tried to take advantage of his death would not win. He left a bag at an airport. With my name on it. And inside that bag was the proof that love, real love, the kind that thinks ahead and plans carefully and writes letters with shaking hands, is more powerful than any legal document a greedy person can manufacture. Before I close up the lake house each weekend, I do one thing. I walk down to the end of the dock. I look out at the water. And I say, out loud, because I don't care who hears me. I got it, Danny. I got the bag. And somewhere, I really believe this, somewhere, my son smiles. If this story moved you, please share it with someone who's been through a loss and come out the other side. Because sometimes the people we love protect us in ways we don't find out about until it's almost too late. And sometimes justice is a navy blue duffel bag with a yellow zipper, sitting in an airport lost and found, waiting patiently for the right person to claim it. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you never miss a story. And if something like this has ever happened to you, leave it in the comments. I read every single one.